Hey sisters, and welcome to the next instalment, my next diary entry of how I built BrainyBiscuit.com. This was taken a few weeks ago when I started, and in this particular video you will see me struggling as I desperately want to get onto social media. After all, it's an online business and that's what it's all about. So I do hope you find it entertaining and amusing, and most of all useful. I can hopefully help you not fall into some of the pitfalls that I'm about to. Hey people, so I'm starting an online business, a purely online business for the first time, and this is week 2 of my video diary. And as it's an online business, I'm guessing that you think I'm going to start talking about Instagram and Twitter and YouTube. Too right I am, but not the way you think. This week, I turned into a 15-year-old girl and spent the whole week on social media. Yep, I thought it would be an enormous amount of fun, and you can get addicted, but trust me when I tell you, I didn't spend the whole week looking at K-pop bands or kittens. I could have done, but I didn't. But let's back up a bit, just a little bit, before we go any further. Last week when I did my little video diary, I spoke about finding a possible product or market that I could work in. I'd got an idea because I did have a bit of a passion, but I wanted to make sure that that was going to work for me and for you guys. So I spoke about finding something that you love, finding something that you are good at, finding something you'll get paid for, and finding something that the world needs. And I went on to Twitter and Instagram and out onto the internet verse looking for somebody like me. So that's why I've spent all week on the internet, and I couldn't really find anybody like me. So I'm thinking, yeah, I could talk to my silver sisters, and I know I've got some real world experience that I could share with them, and I really do love have a passion about helping people. So that's where we got to really last week, and I started to look on the internet this week to find people like me. And I do believe that having spoken to a number of people, confidence particularly, as well as business skills, is a huge issue as you approach midlife. This week I've been speaking to hairdressers who run their own little mobile businesses, and I've been speaking with bakers who have got online baking stores that they love, etc., and all sorts of different women in all sorts of different little businesses, and they have been speaking about how the world is changing and how confidence or lack of it is holding them back because they don't necessarily have the skills to move on to the next stage of their business. So for example, the mobile hairdresser and I had a long conversation about the possibility of online bookings, and it's something she hasn't even thought about. She doesn't even do online banking at this stage, and the business is none the worse for that, but I think she knows she needs to change, and it's nothing to do with her skill set, it's all about confidence. And then I spoke with another lovely girl that I've known for a long time. She used to work for me, and horror of horrors, she's approaching 40. Oh my God, how did that happen? And she and I had a conversation, and she's employed in a very, very male dominated industry. And she was talking about some of the challenges that she has because it's a male dominated industry, and she wants to get on and move further forward, and indeed some of the confidence issues she has. So I'm reckoning that there is something to talk about there, sisters. So that's where I got to. Now I've got 30 years of knowledge working for myself, and also working in large businesses, and my last business is an online business in as much as it uses websites and online payment gateways and all sorts of interesting things that work with technology, but it's not a totally online business. So I spent hours on the internet looking for me, and I couldn't find myself. So I'm starting to think that this might actually be a good idea. The other thing that I really got to grips with this week when talking with these lovely ladies is that if you don't get paid for it, it's not a business. And I do think that women are very, very shy, or they hold back in actually asking for money, a fair price for a fair product. So those are things that I found out so far. So I was out there spending hours on the internet, not playing internet games. And I found some very successful and interesting people, because I'm genuinely looking for help. This is a completely new venture for me, so I'm looking for help. And I found some wonderful people. I found people like Boss Babes and the Female Entrepreneur Association and Kimberly Ann. I'll say that again, Kimberly Ann Jimenez. Sorry, Kimberly Ann. And they've got great marketing techniques and great content stuff. And then people like Marie Folio, who is all about confidence and making the most of yourself, your personality, your skills, your drive, your ambition, getting the things that you want. So all of these women are out there and they're doing an amazing job. And there are some great hints and tips, so thank you, ladies. But I did find that the message missed with me just a little bit off the mark. Having had real world experience, I've got different questions and I can bring different skills to the set. So I was wanting to ask these individuals certain questions based on a different point of view. So they're doing an amazing job, but again, it came back to the fact that somebody like me might want to talk to somebody like me. Then the next thing I did was I looked for other huge motivators or inspirational characters out there, and I spent a lot of time looking at men on the internet as well, because just because you're a man, we shouldn't discount you ladies, should we? And there were fantastic people. There's people like Gary V, who is an amazing internet marketeer. He is just amazing. He has all sorts of hints, tips, skills, things you should do. But he's got a very confrontational delivery method. And again, that wouldn't necessarily jibe with me if I were a little unsure or coming into this without a gung-ho attitude. He might be the kind of guy you want to stand up in a bar and have a raging argument with in a fun sense, debate those points of view, but you don't always want to have that aggressive, in-your-face methodology or messaging. So yeah, Gary was great, but again, didn't quite chime with me. And then I looked further and there were people like Grant Cardone, whose content for me totally missed the mark. Again, I'm sure it's absolutely fantastic, but it reiterated to me that there is a need for women like us, women with this experience, that we're desperate to get it out there. So it's my language, and I want to relate to the online world and my real life skills. So, I've done all this research on the internet and I'm ready to start Twitter, and I've got photos and all sorts of things ready. And then I realised, actually, do you know what? I think there is a market out there and there seems to be this market gap. But if there's nobody doing this, does this mean that there isn't anybody out there like me, and therefore is it going to fail? So I came back, I sort of took my own advice, much as I hate to do it, and went back to basics and, research, ladies. So yes, I was checking out the content to make sure that it was right, and checking out the language, and checking out what platforms they're using and what are they actually selling, and that it sort of didn't relate to me. So I thought, hang on a minute, can you actually make any money at this? And as I said earlier, if you don't get paid, it's not a business. So maybe nobody wants it. And I do know that a large percentage, I've got the number 42 in my head, of small businesses fail within the first year and 18 months. So I don't want to fall into that category. So I need to be absolutely sure that I can get paid for my services. And I believe, so I'm going to check this out, that my marketplace is a relatively wealthy marketplace. That's we ladies. of a certain age. And also thinking about it, you know, I'm in my mid-50s and the average lifespan in the UK will take me at least to my mid-80s as a lady. Gentlemen, I'm sorry, you do die a little bit earlier, but we women will be around certainly until our mid-80s in a lot of cases. So that's a whole 30 years more left to live. So there's got to be something out there. So I looked at some statistics. I happened to look at Ofcom, which is the Office Communications. I happen to have a telecoms background, but that is beside the point. And I was looking at Ofcom to find out about mobile phone usage, smartphone usage, etc. in certain age groups. And these are some of the statistics. So between 45 and 54-year-olds, 98% of us use a mobile phone and 11% of those use a smartphone to go online. However, 69% of this particular market stream and go online to buy things. So that's encouraging to start with. And then again, 76% of this group of individuals have a social media profile. So that's pretty good news. And if we look at the group 55 to 64-year-olds, where some of us might fall into, 43% watch on-demand TV and stream, and 58% of them have a social media profile. And I also found it really interesting that Amazon are building a store just to target we over 50s. And if it's good enough for them, it's certainly good enough for me. So, okay, if it's good enough for Amazon, as I say, it's good enough for me. I then did some further research into what our age group actually spend. How important are they to the UK economy? Obviously, I can't speak for other countries, but certainly the States has an ageing population too. The whole of Europe does. I don't know what they spend. But looking at the UK particularly, spending of 65-year-olds and over actually increased by 75% between 2001 and 2018. Now, that's not all online, but that's a huge increase. And interestingly, there was a 16% fall in the same period for those under 50. So it looks like we've got a little bit of money, people. And then sort of 2018, older people actually spent 54 pence out of every pound in the UK economy. And they reckon that by 2040, that will be 63 pence in every pound. So this is encouraging me a lot. Now, people 50 and over will actually account for 40% of total earnings by 2040. So it looks like there is a large enough pie to take a bite of. So I do believe that we sisters are out there wanting help and encouragement. I do believe there are some fantastic messages out there, but they don't necessarily speak to me. And I do believe that there is some money to be had and some benefits to be given. So that's what I've done this week. It was a lot of hard graft, and I still haven't got on to Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, but I think it was worth spending the time. So I'm hoping that next week when we catch up, I'll actually be doing a how-to video rather than a this is what I've done video, but who knows. So I'm going into week 3 relatively confident that there is a marketplace. What I've got to do now is find out how to reach it.